you kind of
Stumbled
onto this, right? Where you're like, there's parts in a family, and those same parts must exist internally in us.
No, it wasn't quite like that. It was more like I was trying to prove family therapy worked, and it wasn't working, and my clients started telling me about these parts that were keeping them from changing.
Wow.
And I had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm a good scientist. I got very curious about it, and my clients taught this to me. And as they were talking about all these parts, it sounded familiar to me as a family therapist. It sounded like this internal family that had all these similar kinds of polarizations, and some are protecting others, and so that was the inception of it.
And did you think you were a little weird and crazy when this started happening, or did you just kind of roll with it?
I thought I thought these people are a lot sicker than I thought. But then I started listening inside myself, and oh my God, I've got them too.
Right.
And some of mine are as extreme as my clients.
Right.
And then I got curious, and yeah.
It does make me look with more compassion at people if I think that they're playing out parts that just got stuck at a certain age and a certain time. It does make me look at the world more compassionately, because I don't judge the behavior, but I understand, like, wow, something happened that got frozen at a time, and they're still trying to work that out, right? They're still trying to get acceptance or love from the society or from their father or from something, or avoid pain. Like, that part does help. And it also makes a lot of sense that I would want to be compassionate to different parts of myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a law of this inner world that goes something like, you will relate to somebody who's acting or looking like one of your parts in the way you relate to that part of yourself.
So I will relate to, I will relate to somebody who's anxious in the same way I relate to my own anxiety.
Exactly.
So if I'm like, I can't stand their anxiety, I can't be around them, I hate being around them, I can't be around myself.
You got it.
I hate that about life. So frustrating. So to understand where the parts of us that are unhealed, just notice who we get triggered by.
That's one way to do it.
And so if we look at, let's say, I don't know, our president, just because everybody knows that, I get triggered by him in part because I might not have access to my own parts that want to be confident or want to tell people what to do or want to be...
to be the boss or...
Right.
Like that, yeah.
But is there something that's just like, no, person's just kind of an asshole? Does that exist anywhere where it's just like, they're just, I'm not talking about any in particular, but just like, that person's just an asshole.
Yeah. There is, I wouldn't put it exactly.
Yeah, I know, just strong language, I know, but.
We didn't talk a lot about what I call the self.
Oh yeah, let's talk briefly about that.
Is the place we access before we start working with these parts. And so you were in a lot of self, because first I said, how do you feel toward the part? And you said, I'm irritated with it.
Yeah.
We got that to step back, and automatically you had a lot of compassion for it.
Yeah.
And I find that over and over as we do this, that this compassionate, we'll call the 8 C's of self-leadership: calm, curious, creative, clear, courageous, connected person is in everybody. It's our essence, and it's just beneath the surface of these parts, such that as they step out, it emerges, and it knows how to heal both internally and externally. And it also has this intense desire to stand up to injustice. So a lot of what the panels were talking about, and Marianne this morning, is if we access self, we will automatically start to change in the external world. And my belief is that a lot of psychedelics immediately access a lot of self. And that part of why the 60s were so raucous was because self was coming through that portal back then.
And self is presence, is spaciousness, is
those are all
awareness.
Those are all qualities of self.
Okay. For somebody who hears the word self, though, and be like, what is he really?
Yeah, because it's got a bad name with the Buddhists, because it's no self, right?
Right.
But what's called no self, there's a Buddhist scholar named Jack Engler who wrote a paper on IFS and Buddhism saying what they're calling no self is really what I'm calling self, because they're actually talking about no parts.
Got it.
So when your
There's no parts taking over. We're actually.
Yeah, when your parts open a lot of space, the emptiness that's so full is yourself. But you're no self.
Yeah, I think it was actually Eckhart Tolle, who comes from a different world, but he said whenever you break a pattern, that the energy of that pattern gets transformed into presence. So if you have a pattern that you're caught in, it's taking up energy, and as soon as you can see that and not follow it, that builds presence. And it sounds like you're in a similar understanding that.
Similar understanding, although I could do a rant about his.
Okay, yeah.
Which I probably shouldn't do.
Well, we're out of time, and you've got to go to Q&A. But yeah, another time. Dick Schwartz, everybody. Thank you so much.